Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on this planet Earth. This is Doc Skinner. Little, hold on. I got some things mixed up here, trying to get buttons going, things working. I hope you're all having a great day. This is 1028 Live, and it is live, and things happen. But we got some big news going on, and right now, I'm just hooking up our guest for tonight. Mr. Tony Tangalos, and we'll be meeting with him in just a second. But I want to get all of the pleasantries out of the way. Let's see. Yes, we are streaming live. Good. Everything's good. Oh, I know why. I had the screens in the wrong position. That makes sense. Okay. So we've got a lot of big things going on up here on the mountain, of course. You know about Disclosure Con coming on October 5th and 6th, and that's going to be huge. We're doing a contest for the logo, main character that's going to be on the comic book program, as well as the posters, the t-shirts, the websites, the promo videos, all that stuff. The winner will get all of that to be everywhere, and they'll also get a booth on Artist Alley to sign autographs and sell their artwork or what have you. So submit that to Doc Skinner at 1028productions.com, DOCSKINNER at 1028productions.com. We also have the film festival a few weeks after that, October 17th through the 20th. It was a huge success last year. We had 50 movies. We might have more, even double this year, and it's going to be huge. And if you're a filmmaker, please submit. Go just look up White Mountain Film Festival or Sholo Film Festival for a submission page, and do just that. Also, Off Grid Magazine is going to be helping us out with Survival Prepper Expo, so check out the ad in their February issue. An awesome magazine. Actually, this is the first time I don't have it on my desk because I was showing it to someone earlier. Then got some other breaking news that we're going to be announcing mid-February, so stick around for that. It's going to be huge for the mountain and the beginning of my 500 jobs in 5 years plan. And if it works, then we'll have 500 jobs for people up here and bring us some extra cash. All right, so without further ado, I would like to introduce a gentleman that has been so unbelievably helpful. He has been helping me probably on the most grandest scale with Survival Prepper Expo. Without him, we wouldn't be as far along as we are. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Tony Tangalos, and hopefully I got you on off mute. Wait. Yep, I do. Hold on. Let me get you real quick. And Tony, more. Oh no, you're not on mute. Are you on mute on your side? Oh, this is not. Okay. This is always fun. Let's see here. I'm muted. Yeah. I have no idea. But I'm not getting a signal of any sort. Oh, I wish I knew sign language. Can you check your settings just in case? I mean, you may have already. I don't know.
I tested.
There you are. There you are. There you are. Whatever you touched.
You can hear me now?
Oh yeah, it's always a check mark or something.
All right. Well, I unplugged my headset, so my headset must not be wanting to cooperate.
Oh, well, yeah, technology. I get it. Every show's always a fun adventure. It's okay. But can you hear me all right?
I've been hearing you great the whole time. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, good. And I got video here. Let's just make sure you got video here. I'm hoping people see you. All right. So I'm going to be looking over here every now and then just to make sure. So welcome. Let's see. You haven't popped up yet. We'll just pray for the best. So first off, Tony, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I mean, your help with Survival Prepper Expo, it was leaps and bounds and saved probably 6 months of work with your help. And I am so grateful. And people on the mountain are going to be grateful for you too. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I mean, you're wearing all in white. You're like a hero.
I'm wearing a ski jacket because it's 59. It's 59 degrees in my house right now.
Oh, wow.
I live in a passive solar home, and it's we had clouds all day today, and so
Um,
I haven't used the heater in the house for 2 years, and I don't want to break the fast of using the heater, so
uh-huh.
it's a little cold in here. But
Well,
and I want to acknowledge you as well. I mean, that you're putting this thing on. It's free to the public. May 25th and 26th, I believe, are the dates
hmm
at
yes,
Hot
sir.
Casino. And that's, to offer something free to the public, and your booth spaces are very affordable. It's something that you're doing for the right reasons. You're doing because you want to help people. You're not trying to retire off this thing. So
No, no, I'm definitely not. No, it's there's a bigger purpose, is if everybody around me is aware, awake, and prepared, I'm not going to feel as worried and nervous, if the need arises. So that's how I see it. If we all help each other, and what did I just say something?
now my stupid Dragon software, which wasn't working for 2 weeks, to now start working, and I'm trying to shut it off.
Ah,
Sorry about
and
that.
for some reason
Go ahead.
now I haven't seen you on the feed yet.
Oh, okay. Well, my camera's working. I see both of us. It looks like you're in the Millennium Falcon there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a button here to spotlight when I speak. I take that off. There's you. This is the first time I've had it not do video before. I always speak highly of Zoom, but oh, let's see. We could do this. Could open this, mute it, and use our chat room. If anybody has an idea of why his video is not popping up and what check mark I need to put in, please tell me soon. Because I would like them to see you so that when they come to the event, they can shake your hand.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
do-do-do-do-do-do.
it's working on my end. Participants to it says stop video, so it is my video's working, and my camera's working. I see myself. I see you. I don't know why you're not being able to see me.
Hmm.
I
Well,
don't
I'm
know.
watching the live stream on Facebook, and
Okay.
you haven't popped up yet that I've noticed. If anybody has seen him, can you tell me? And I'm just missing him. I'm not looking at the right second. Um, but let's do this. I mean, I'm going to have you on a couple more times if that's okay with you, because
Okay.
I want to talk about the progression of what your project is. So, if anything, worst case scenario, at least we have the audio, but I still want people to hear what you got going on.
Okay.
And we're going to have you speak, right, at the event?
Yeah, I'd like to speak about both maybe just preparedness and also the Homesteader Haven project if we have it far enough along to talk about that. Um, Absolutely. Yeah, I feel
Oh,
things are heating up in the world. They keep everybody's in a normalcy bias. Not everybody, but a lot of people are in a normalcy bias, and they're not preparing for the next Black Swan event. So one of my missions is to help people prepare and give them the tools and resources they need to prepare. And up on the mountain this year, it's going to be your expo at the Honda Resort and Casino on May 25th and 26th, where it's free of charge, and people can come and check out the vendors you have there and check out some of the educational curriculum you'll have as well.
excellent. Well, just FYI, you're on camera. I found the check mark. So now, when you're going to be doing all that at the expo, can we talk about your personal baby? I mean, first of all, the
Well,
way you were able to be so helpful is because you used to do what I'm attempting to do this year.
yeah. Let's talk about preparedness. I mean, you're doing the closest show to today is the May 25th, 26th Preparedness Expo. So I
Uh,
want to
okay.
share with some of your followers that I used to do expos in Phoenix called Prepper Fest Expos. They were very large expos. We had anywhere from 150 to 200 exhibitors there. We had them at Arizona State Fairgrounds. We had them at Westworld of Scottsdale. They were huge events, 100,000 square foot floor plans. And, we had a lot of speakers there. We had people like Joel Skousen, who wrote the book Strategic Relocation and a Secure Home. David Bloom, who's wrote the Bible on fuel alcohol distillation called Alcohol Can Be a Gas. Marjorie Wildcraft, who's was on Doomsday Preppers. She's got a huge following with Grow Your Own Groceries worldwide. And, we had quite a few speakers there. Stephanie Peterson, Dr. Prepper, Sheriff Richard Mack, Alan Corwin, Stuart Rose of Oath Keepers. And what we found was that the educational curriculum is one of the biggest draws that people like to go to these things for. So I'm gonna, hopefully we can get Joel to come down and time his visit to be at your expo to teach some classes. Joel was probably the highest attended speaker we had at Prepperfest Expo. I had classrooms that would seat anywhere from 60 to 80 people, and his class had wall-to-wall, lining the walls, flowing out into the hallway. We probably had 150 people trying to take his class.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's going to be free to the public, so I can't even imagine the numbers that are going to come through those doors. And we've got some, good vendors. We're still looking for some more. That's why we do this, a year out or 6 months out to do it right. So you're going to be teaching all that, and might have some of these other speakers. And let's see, where was I going? You brought those other people. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'd like to share with people how I got into preparedness and where my heart is. My dad was 7 years old in 1929 when the Great Depression hit, and he went hungry to bed every night, and in many ways he went homeless. He didn't say that he actually went homeless, but he drove me down the street once and he said, I lived there in January, there in February, there in March, there in April. And basically his parents didn't have any job, and they would get an apartment and they get booted in a month. And so he went through his end of the world as he knew it at 7, and he always made sure there was food on the table and a roof over our head. And he said, son, there's 3 types of people in the world: those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and the vast majority that go, what happened? Which is what he remembered everybody saying when the Great Depression hit at 7 years old. People walking around going, what happened? What happened? What happened? Because it went from, the speakeasies in the roaring 20s and the stock market taking off to, blood on the streets, 25% unemployment, people, starving. And I went through my own. So he inculcated a preparedness mentality in my head. And then I went through my end of the world as I knew it in 2007 when I went from being a multimillionaire selling millions of dollars a year in home theaters to having my income just completely turn off like a light switch. I mean, it just went right off. Boom. Phoenix, Arizona went from 68,000 building permits a year down to about 5,000 building permits. And those 5,000 people weren't putting in home theaters. So it was my rude awakening. I went through bankruptcy, divorce, and foreclosure and 5 surgeries. And that's what kind of gave me a heart to, okay, my dad went through it in 7 years old, 1929. I just went through it. There could be a lot of people going through it when the dollar collapses, or when the EMP hits, or when a pandemic hits, or when the 9.0 earthquake hits California, or fill in the blank, So that's when I started a radio show called The Prepper Patch on KFNX. I ran that for 4 years, from 2012 to 2015. And it was a 50,000 watt AM radio station at 1100 AM. And then I started Prepperfest Expos, where we did these expos at smaller venues. We kept getting bigger and bigger venues. And Doc, it was interesting because we couldn't get a lot of people to go to these things. People would show up for the Junk in Your Trunk Expo, 12,000 people would get the tattoo expos, the beer garden expos, all these things that are somewhat meaningless. But when it comes to getting people actually show up to something where they learn how to actually save their life or live in a grid down situation, we had a hard time getting even 4,000 people to show up. So they weren't economically sustainable. I lost a lot of money doing them, and I couldn't sustain doing them. And then right after the expos, we did this thing called the Prepper Games. It's kind of like a play on words from the Hunger Games. We didn't go around killing people or nothing, but we did tactical training with firearms training, and we did tactical point and shoot and stealth type stuff. We did that up at a place called Shots Ranch in northern Arizona, up by Williams. up by Seligman. And then the fourth thing, so the radio show is to wake people up. The expos was to get them their preps. The games was to teach them how to use their preps. And the ultimate manifestation, what we called originally, was going to be prepper ranches. We got away from the ranches word because that was getting demonized and vilified with doomsday preppers. And we morphed it into Homesteaders Haven, which is an off-grid agrihood for people to live with food security, water security, location security, altitude security, temperature security, being that it's not Midwest cold in the winter and it's not Phoenix hot in the summer, and to live in a very abundant lifestyle with freedom and liberty. So I'll come up for air if you want to jump in at any point here.
Oh, you were just flowing. I didn't want to interrupt. So a lot of good information. And from there, that's when you decided you were going to, look for some land and start this project?
Yeah, well, so I bought 300 acres of land 2 years ago in December 2016, and trying to get financing to do an off-grid agrihood is like trying to wrestle a bone from a Rottweiler. People, the people that have money don't want to try something that hasn't been done before. And I believe in my heart of hearts this thing's going to do really well, but the money people didn't. And so I'm in escrow right now on a 400-acre airport property that I got a bunch of buyers coming up to look at, investors to come in on it with me this Friday. They're flying up here to look at the property. So the plan at this point is to take down the airport and make some, spin off some of the property from the airport and make some money with that, and then take the profits from that and use on the Homesteaders Haven off-grid agrihood. So I don't know, as God leads me, I'm putting one foot in front of the other. I feel a passion to do this, a total passion, and it's just we're money away from making it happen. So.
Oh, I can relate to that. I'm always just money far away.
Yeah. In the meantime, the world keeps becoming more. The apostasy is happening. The George Orwell's 1984, truth becoming lies, lies becoming truth. California is kind of going off the rails now. They're talking about taxing texting. They are taxing ammunition. They're talking about taxing gun sales there. The amount of Californians moving out of California and getting the hell out is really ratcheting up. Right now, you can rent a U-Haul to go to California for about $90. You want to rent a U-Haul from California, it's 10 times as much. It's $900. Because they got a bunch of U-Hauls here in Phoenix, in Arizona. They want to get over to California because everybody's going from there to here, and there aren't too many people going in the other direction. So, I believe in my heart of hearts that this next decade that's coming up, the decade of the 20s, 2020, 2029, I believe it's going to be a pretty withering decade. Whether it's the dollar collapsing or EMPs or there's something out there that I don't talk about too much, but I'll just tip my toe into the pond. It's called Planet X, which is a planet that has a supposed elliptical orbit, 3,600-year orbit around the sun. There's a lot of people that think it's on its inbound, and it's going to manifest itself in the next decade. And that's going to be a game changer. I do want to share with your audience that, we don't know what's going to hit and when. We don't know if and when the dollar is going to collapse. It's likely going to. But one of the seminal signs of Planet X hitting is what's called the Winter of Ash, which will be an event. As this thing comes into our solar system, it's been proven by a professor who not too many people pay attention to. His name's Professor Mencher Ohrenboschisch. He has proven, at least conclusively enough for me to believe, that gravitational forces are what cause earthquakes. And I went on the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Labs orbital simulator, and I dialed in some of the dates of the biggest earthquakes, the 8.6 and above earthquakes. There's only been about 12 8.6 and above earthquakes that have been in recorded history. And his paper and the Jet Propulsion Lab orbital simulator website concur that at the dates of those earthquakes, there was planetary alignments, like the sun, the earth, and Saturn and Jupiter were all lined up, and then boom, the 9/0 hits. And so he proved very conclusively that the very largest earthquakes are caused by gravitational forces, by planetary alignments. And is this nemesis, this thing's called wormwood in the Bible. The Egyptians called it the destroyer. The Sumerians called it wormwood. It's called planet X. No, the Sumerians called it Nibiru. I'm sorry. The Bible called it wormwood. The Sumerians called it Nibiru, and it's also been called nemesis. This thing is supposedly inbound, and when it causes what's called the winter of ash, it's going to be unmistakable. And the winter of ash is when there's a lot of volcanic activity happening on the Ring of Fire, particularly on the western side of the Ring of Fire, which for listeners that may not be familiar is surrounding the Pacific Ocean. The western rim is Asia, the eastern rim is North and South America. So if we start experiencing some significant volcanic activity to the point where there's this ash cloud that comes over America and starts dropping ash, that's going to be called the winter of ash. When that sucker hits, that's the calling card to Planet X is imminent, and then things are going to start getting more and more pronounced with that.
Wow. I mean, visions of J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings and what was it? The Dark Ages is what I'm seeing. That could have been a result of that on another pass around. Hence, like with the Great Flood, they say supposedly happened on one of these passes. And I mean, if you understand basic science, two bodies, you're going to have a pull, and that's the gravity. In this case, gravity. They've also found recently in the past few years, BP Earthwatch, who got expelled from YouTube and some places on the internet because of his discovery, was that solar flares pressing down on the bubble around us, the atmosphere, creating pressure on a tectonic plates. They were finding that when there was these big solar flares, that within 24 to 72 hours, there would be a big earthquake. So yes, all of these elements do come together, including Major Ed Dames, world-renowned remote viewer, talks about the kill shot event, where a large body, who some say is Planet X, comes between the Earth and the Sun. Ooh, what did you do?
So
you screened. Oh, great. So you're showing stuff. Awesome. But yeah, like an alignment right there. And there was also a few years ago where the alignment created a cross recently. And then, but all this happening, it's, where was I going with this? I had something in my eye, and then you.
I pulled up the wrong alignment. I'm going to pull up the right one that I meant to pull.
Are you familiar with the alignment I was speaking of, where it was a big deal? It was like on Christmas. It was like a perfect cross with all the planets and the sun in the middle.
I'm looking for March. Let's see, March. I'm looking for March. Yeah, March Elenin, March 29th earthquake. There it is, Elenin, Earth, and the sun. So let me pull this one up here. This is when the Japanese earthquake hit. Right here. It was a body called Elenin. It was a comet. And it lined right up with the Earth and the Sun, and that's when the March 2011 the Japanese earthquake, the 9.0 hit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you're can you see it? Is it up on the screen right now?
Yes, I see it, and it's actually what I spoke to you about. Major Ed Dames, he predicted that, and the earthquakes. He went on worldwide radio and announced it before it happened, even saying that it would be near that area in Tokyo would be okay, and that it was a level 7 reactor, and it was going to be the gift that keeps on giving, which it still is, because they still let it leak in. People wonder why I don't eat seafood. But I strongly believe that. And when he describes this encounter, when it comes past between the sun and the earth, that the gravitational pull of planet X or Nibiru, or whatever you want to call it, wormwood, that it pulls on the sun and on the earth. And a big solar flare is going to come out, but by the time it comes to where Planet X was, it's already moved ahead, and we're right in target. And it's just going to cause devastation. And the government has known this since the Clinton administration, hence why all of a sudden they had budget cuts with the bases and started shutting them down. But they started building all this underground stuff, and $3 trillion disappears. And when was the last time you saw a military convoy on the highway? That used to be every weekend when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah,
You remember that? We're
yeah.
around that same age.
Illinois. Yeah, it
Oh
was.
yeah, they go from base to base. But does anybody nowadays? They become so sidetracked they don't realize. Wait, where are the convoys that used to come from base to base? So lots of fun mysteries in our world. But when do you see? I mean, what is it? What is it going to take to get you going, or to get Homesteaders Haven off the
But the
ground?
Homesteaders, yeah, we're money away from getting it going. I'm gonna wait and see how we take down this airport and how fast it can start generating some cash flow. There's a chance that we can buy it and then quickly sell portions of it and generate some positive cash flow right from that. If I'm unsuccessful in getting some positive cash flow coming out of the airport fairly quickly, what I'm going to probably do is do either a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter type fundraising campaign for the Homesteaders Haven and try to raise money that way. So it's been really frustrating. I've been pursuing the capital markets and they're just not forthcoming. I talked to a guy who's doing an agrihood on the East Coast, and he attended a seminar from an agrihood called Serenbe Farms out by Atlanta, Georgia. And Serenbe, the guy that ran that seminar said, man, it's just almost impossible to get institutional or big money to come in on these things. You got to kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is part of the reason why there's probably not more agrihoods, because they're. And what's interesting is really popular. Agritopia, which is the only agrihood in Arizona at this time, had the #1 highest appreciating lot sales in the fourth quarter of 2018. So while these things are tough to get financed, they're doing really well, and it's kind of illogical. If they're doing well, you would think people would throw money at them, but they're not. So it's frustrating.
Well, I know people like you are trying to pave the way, and I wouldn't say a revolutionary thing, because it's the basic stuff that we just forgot. And luckily we have people like you that have held on to that knowledge and are willing to utilize it and bring it back to the public.
Well, when I talk to people about living off grid and having a water security and food security, they start going into one of four pigeonholes. Actually, five. The fifth one is where we want them to go. But most people go, oh, you're either a religious cult, you're a commune, you're an end of the world group, or you're a utopian society. And we're not. We're not any of those things. We're not a religious cult. It's open to all religions. If I attempted to make it religion specific, I could be thrown in jail because it's against the Arizona Department of Real Estate to do that, even if you wanted to. We're not a commune. You need money to live here. You can't just show up and surf's up to let's smoke a joint. You're gonna have to have money to buy a lot. We're not a end of the world group. I don't believe, for the record, I say this anytime I talk about it, I don't believe that the world will end. I believe that things will change. Just like they changed for my dad in 1927, just like they changed for a lot of people in 2007 when the subprime meltdown hit and we had a pretty severe recession. They call it the Great Recession. And things will change in the future depending on whatever may happen, whether it's Nibiru or dollar collapse or EMP being hurled at us by Russia or China or North Korea to disable our electrical grid. It could even happen by the sun. In 1859, there's a Carrington Event where the sun hurled a EMP at the Earth, and it wiped out all known technology at the time, which was the telegraphs. Telegraph buildings burnt down, wires burnt down, and it wiped out that side of the Earth that was facing the sun. So the sun's always throwing out electrical information. And in 2012, there was an EMP that the Earth passed 3 days in front of where that EMP hit. So in other words, if that EMP had hit 3 days after when it did hit, or 3 days before when it did hit, it would have really targeted the Earth. Yeah, put us back in the stone.
And NASA kept it quiet for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it got leaked. And here's the thing: is we had another event like that just happen a few weeks ago. or
Really? Another?
maybe even sooner than that, but it was very, very recent.
Yeah.
And I need to look that up. But
These are all on the internet. For any of the listeners
yeah,
that are scratching their head going, really? Carrington Event? Yep. Google it. 1859 Carrington, 2012. There's an X-class solar flare that almost wiped out the Earth. 3 days, if it hit 3 days earlier, it would have wiped out the Earth. And I hope your listeners know that the dollar is the dollar is basically scat tissue. The only reason why anybody thinks it has value is because the Federal Reserve pretends it still does. But with the $22 trillion of debt we have and the over $100 trillion of under and unfunded liabilities, it's just a matter of time when they decide they want to replace it with something. The dollar's just gonna become like scat tissue, just like it did in the Weimar Republic when Germany was forced to pay reparations by the League of Nations after World War I. Oh, we'll pay your reparations. Here's your reparations. They started cranking up the printing press and throwing out money to everybody. Here's your reparations. Here's some for you and for you. And then there's the classic story about the lady who took a wheelbarrow of money to buy a loaf of bread, and when she came out of the store, the wheelbarrow was gone. The money was still there because the money was worthless, but the wheelbarrow had value.
at value, yeah, you can make money with it.
So,
Yeah.
so you know, my slogan, my tagline is prepping isn't for doomsday, it's for every day. If you live a preparedness lifestyle, I live in an off-grid home. We've got a garden here, we got a greenhouse here. I've got food stored up, I got a well for water. I'm set. I mean, honest to God, if an EMP hit, I've got a ham radio and a Faraday cage. I got most of my electronics in Faraday cages. An EMP hit, my life wouldn't change much. Maybe my truck wouldn't run, but I've got an EMP-proof truck that's ready to go. I've got fuel, alcohol distillation devices. I can start mashing some grass and making fuel, alcohol, ethanol, and biodiesel. I've got a buddy of mine that knows how to do biodiesel. He's teaching me how to do it. My life wouldn't change much. Up here on the mountain, if an EMP hits anytime in June, July, or August, I believe, frankly, people will start dying in Phoenix just from the heat. I mean, they're going to pull over, their car's going to stop running on the freeway. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to use their phone to call somebody. Their phone isn't going to work. Everybody else is going to be in the same boat. They're going to get out of their cars, and it's going to be, okay, where the hell do I get water before I die of dehydration? And can I walk back to my house, or can I walk to a canal and stick my head in the water to get some water to stay alive for another day or two so I can figure out where I'm going to go? It's going to be rough if an EMP hits. So if people live the preparedness lifestyle, they store some water, have a garden. There's a program by the United States Department of Agriculture, the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So it's the USDA, NRCS, has a greenhouse subsidy program. Any of your listeners can get a greenhouse subsidized between 75 and 90% of the cost by applying for it. Just by go to the USDA, go to their NRCS website. And Doc, what I'll do is I'll email you the forms.
Okay.
So you post them online, or you can have them available for any of your people to access this information. I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
And this is a way for people to get greenhouses with the government paying.
I had no idea. This is awesome. I love finding. There used to be a really cool infomercial back in the day with a guy with question marks, and he always had the cool book on how to find money. Do you remember that guy with the glasses? And he goes,
yes.
Want to be an actor? Want to start a farm? And he goes, here's how you find your money. I haven't seen that in a long time, but this is good stuff.
I'm just sent you the first email. I got two of them. They've got all the forms, who to contact, how to apply. It's a great program. We hope to, by the way, for people that live in the Snowflake Taylor area and the White Mountain Lakes area, we hope to be at a point, and I can't commit this yet, but if we get funded, we would like to be able to subsidize the subsidies. So the problem with the USDA NRCS greenhouse subsidies, you have to buy the greenhouse, and after you've bought it and paid for it, then they'll write you a check to cover the cost of 75-90%. So a lot of people have maybe the 10 to 25% for the greenhouse, but they don't have the full money. So we want to be in a position, and I can't commit this, but this is our heart, where we want to be, is for people in the White Mountains area they get approved for the greenhouse subsidy, and if they're willing to assign us their benefits, so when the check gets written, it comes to us. I'll be willing, God willing, He brings me the money for the haven to front the money, so the person can buy the greenhouse, put it up, and then when they get their subsidy, it gets sent to me to repay me. Interest-free loans for that is what we're hoping to offer.
Wow. Wow.
So, my vision, which is a lot of vision of people on the mountain, is everybody's got a greenhouse or a high tunnel. They're growing their own food. They got water security, and then life's good. If you're growing your own food, and here's the thing: people talk about it being end of the world or religious cult or commune or utopian society. Oh yes, oh yeah, Tangalos, you think you know it all. You're just gonna have this little utopian community, and everybody's gonna. No, it's not gonna be utopian. It's gonna be people working their tails off there, and there's no utopia on this earth, I don't believe. But what it is, Doc, is it's the way everybody lived on planet Earth from the beginning of time until the Industrial Revolution. They lived in a small community. They had their own well for water. They had their own livestock. They had their own crops, and they knew their neighbors. We're recreating the way everybody lived from the beginning of time until the Industrial Revolution, which today, it's like tinfoil hat, to want to live like this, but it's the way everybody lived, Doc.
Yeah, because now everything is just a click of a button.
Yeah, everything is, you get your food from the grocery store. Well, where do they get their food from? They get it from a farm somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a grid down situation, those trucks may not be rolling, whether it's the EMP or dollar collapse or whatever, those trucks may not be rolling with that food. You need to be building local food, creating your local food source.
Well, I never went to a school that had this, but I know of a lot of schools on the outskirts of town in Texas and other places that it's called the AAFA, I think. It's where they teach you how to be farmers and ranchers while you're in high school. It's like ROTC, but for farmers and ranchers.
Okay.
What is that called?
I haven't heard of that. There's the WOOFER program, the Worldwide Organization for Organic Farmers, the WOOFers, where people, if they want to go, like when I was in New Zealand, I went to New Zealand for a month with my sister, lived there, and invited me to come out and visit with her. And I flew in, got to her house, got my base camp set up, and then I started kind of basically just wandering around New Zealand. And I would take buses to different places, and there was these places you could register for woofer communities, and you show up there, and they'll house you and they'll feed you if you're willing to do some work.
Yeah.
So I kind of tooled around New Zealand, visiting some of the woofer communities, showing up, offering to work. They fed me, they housed me. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a whole nother world from what we've created here in the States. I mean, granted, we got some cool stuff, but I wish I knew what that was. I think it's American Agricultural Farmers Association or something like that,
Okay.
and they have like classes, and I mean they work on it for years. They're members, and before they graduate high school, and it teaches them how to birth cattle and do the crops and everything. So
Okay.
that, and I haven't seen anything like that up here. That's why I like what you're doing, because when people get here, they can utilize those skills.
Well, yeah, up on the mountain here, the organizations that I've stumbled upon is the White Mountain Community Garden, which is in Show Low on 9th Place. They lease about a 3-acre parcel from Navajo County, and they got a about $60,000 grant last year from Allison Hefner, and they put in high tunnels and irrigation system and raised grow beds and amended the soils and irrigation system, and then there's Lodestar Gardens, which has a 40-acre parcel of land up in Apache County, and they do a lot of teaching there. They have Lodestar Gardens. People go to lodestargardens.org, I believe it is. They have a lot of resources out here up on the mountain. They get farmers together, and the farmers all talk about what works and doesn't work. And what I've discovered from living up here in the last 3 years I've been up here is that it's a crapshoot trying to grow stuff unless you have a greenhouse, because the frosts can go as late as May, and they can come as early as September. So there's really like June, July, and August is the only sure thing growing season. But if you have a high tunnel in a greenhouse, then you can grow 365 days a year round. So most of the farmers up here that I know of are in the process of acquiring high tunnels so they can grow indoors and they can grow year round. So, and that's what we plan to do at Homesteaders Haven. We plan to have high tunnels and underground greenhouses, which are called Wallapinis,
Ooh,
which
ooh,
are
ooh, ooh! You're talking
really
earth homes. I like earth
yeah.
homes. Are you gonna do anything like that, like the hay bales or made of bottles or anything like that? That's or maybe more earth
We're
friendly.
looking at it. One of the things is people, when they make an investment, are concerned about property values, and we have to be careful that we don't introduce alternative style construction in an area where people spend a lot of money in a regular home and then adversely impact their home price. But we're going to likely have an alternative home area where we have hay bale homes, straw bale homes, earth ships, some SIPs homes, passive solar homes, some tiny homes. What I'm thinking of is almost like a little village. Have a little village of tiny homes, a little village of passive solar homes, and have those villages about 30 to 35 homes in there. There's a guy named Steve Dedman who's built a tiny home community up in Show Low, right there on Porter Mountain Road,
Hmm.
and he's doing really well. A lot of people are into the tiny home movement. And when I've been to the Arizona State Fairgrounds for their home shows, Maricopa County home shows, the tiny homes have lines hour and a half to get in each tiny home. Just real fascination with people looking for a way to downsize.
Yeah,
So,
that neighborhood is nearby, and I get to see it. But don't blink. It's very very small. The neighborhood is very very small.
yeah,
But
neighborhood's small, and and the homes are small. I don't know if I could live in a tiny home. I got a lot of junk, and
hmm,
I got a lot of stuff. George Carlin talked about stuff.
yeah,
I don't know if I could get rid of enough stuff to live in a tiny home.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's it's a cool idea. I've been in one, and the bathtub looked like rustic corrugated steel and that farmhouse look, and everything was very artsy fartsy. It was but nice. Um, yeah, I think they're a pretty cool thing. Um, Now you've been on the road, haven't you?
Yep, I just got back last night from Phoenix. Drove up. I was a little worried. They told me we got a lot of snow last weekend, but it's been pretty warm, so it's pretty much melted the last 3 days.
Good.
But,
Well, I would like to ask you to come back as we progress towards the event and as you progress in the progress of your project. Um,
Homesteaders.
yeah, and I just want to say thank you because I know you're right, you need some rest. You've done a lot of traveling, and I
Yeah,
appreciate you
yeah,
giving me at
travel.
least you get 40 minutes. We went over. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
thank you
all
so
right,
much.
that's okay. Well, thanks
Uh,
so much for having me on, Doc, and I applaud your efforts. I feel like we're kindred spirits. You came out here. You were led to come to the White Mountains. I was led to come to the White Mountains. Um, we both have hearts to help other people prepare. We're both not trying to get rich doing it. And so I'm here for you, buddy. I'm going to help you with any audio video gear you need, and I'm going to do my best to help you get some more exhibitors for your show and get some speakers so you can have a very successful show. I want to see that succeed. So I'm here for you, and we'll do this again. Okay, buddy?
Excellent. And I want everybody to learn more about this so that they can come and meet you at this event. And maybe
Okay.
that magic angel might be in the crowd. You never know, you know. So,
All
well,
right,
thank you
Doc.
again, Tony. I
All
appreciate
right.
you, and we'll be talking
Okay.
soon. All right. You
All right.
get some rest.
All
All
right,
right.
buddy. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Tony Tangalos from Homesteaders Haven up here in the White Mountains. And yeah, it's going to be interesting when he gets that ball rolling. So, I want to say thank you to everybody that joined online with me. Let me get over here because it's like a scroll up here. We've got Audrey, Dylan, sorry, Dylan Monroe, my Roxanne, my mom, Audrey, Cheryl. Let's see, Y have RV. Did I say or Harvey? Y Harvey? Is that how you say it? WY and then okay. Chris, Chris D, Amity, Dana, Lisa, Seth, Monica, Alfredo, Heather, Jesse, Houston, Kevin, Samantha, Steve, Aaron, Cindy, Tina, Samantha, and Philip. Thank you so much for coming on board with me tonight and checking out the show. We got more big shows coming up. The contest for those that came on late. I'm doing a big contest for Disclosure Con 2019. If you are an artist, I'm looking for somebody to do this year's poster, basically, the image that's going to be the representation for Disclosure Con 2019. It will be on the comic book program book that we'll have at the event. It'll be on the posters, the t-shirts, the banners, wherever. It's going to be on the websites, the promo videos. So you're going to have all the exposure you can imagine. And I will also give you a booth on Artist Alley where you can sign autographs and sell your artwork. So you or anybody you know that can do that or might be interested, please let them know. And you can email me the image, and we're going to do the announcement of the winner on February 28th, which will be my 28th show this season, and calling it the Magic Show. And I'll announce the winner. So some of the suggestions, these aren't mandatory, but subject matter for the image. Q, had a big effect on the world this year. UFOs, Bigfoot, Travis Walton, Stargate, Secret Space Program, Planet X, sci-fi movies and comic books, YouTube, alternative media sci-fi celebs, because I'm going to try to get a bunch of YouTube celebs in here as well. Have some fun with that. And then what else? We got that contest going on for that. We have, like I said, Survival Prepper Expo, May 25th and 26th at the Honda Casino Resort in Pine Top, Arizona. It's going to be a lot of fun, Saturday and Sunday. And if you want to learn a lot and get some cool gear, take a couple classes. It's free to the public, so bring the family. Should be a hoot. I'm pretty stoked about it, as well as a lot of people. So, and then of course the film festival, October 17th through the 20th. Martina Wester, Darmar Productions, and some of her fellow sponsors are once again coming back for round 2 with the White Mountains Film Festival, and it's going to be bigger and better, faster, stronger, more awesomeness that we can add. Feeling a little silly. All right, so and then I do have something so exquisite to tell you guys, and I cannot do so until after February 5th. After that, then I'm going to start teasing you heavily about this, because it's going to begin, which I didn't think was going to happen so soon, but the beginning of my challenge. I don't want to say promise, my challenge of providing 500 jobs in 5 years to people here on the mountain in the entertainment industry. So, paid jobs, by the way, so, and helping people learn some new skill sets. Lots of educating, a lot of entertaining, and we've got movies coming to the mountains, folks, starting in March. Did you hear me? March is when it starts. I even thought a year from now, take a long time. No. I told you. Just had to get them up here. Let them fall in love with you guys. People up here on the mountain, you guys rock. That's why this is happening. You guys help make this happen. Just FYI. All right. So that's my goal. I'm not talking 40-hour-a-week career positions or anything. I'm just saying a side income for now, until we really get the ball rolling. And then maybe careers, and then maybe businesses, and who knows? But baby steps. It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey. If you only really knew how long I've wanted to get this far. So, other than that, Anybody else join on? Let's see. Lewis, thank you for jumping on. Julia, Jennifer, and Marina, thank you for coming on. We're coming up on the end. I'm not going to do a long show tonight. Attention spans, you know. So I'm going to do something. Let me tell you who's on next week or the next show. Next show, we got Suzanne Ross from the Sci-Spy TV network online, and she's out of Sedona. Just pure positive energy. And I think we need that every now and then. So I'm going to bring her on board on Thursday night, and she's going to talk all about her new network. And it's huge. The names she has on here, granted, so many, I don't even know. So I'm excited to learn about these people and what they're going to be teaching on this network. You know, seeing all sides. So join me on Thursday with Miss Suzanne Ross from the Sci-Spy TV network online and learn something new, or have some affirmation on something you already knew. Who knows? Other than that, I don't normally get locked up. I normally have other things to tell you. I sweeped today. Do you notice? See how clean it is? And because I knew you guys were going to be seeing me tonight, so I got the Windex out, degreaser. Got the see up here. It's not as wait right there. See that corner? It's not as dirty when it opens and closes. And I was able to stick something in the door so it stayed. So I like to keep up appearances. All right. I just hate saying goodbye. Is that so wrong? Is that so wrong? I just want to say thank you again to all the new viewers tonight. Jeff Farkas, thank you for coming on at the last second. Join me Thursday. A man alone with his camera. What could go wrong? All right. Doc Skinner, I'm going to call it a night. I will see you all on Thursday, Lord willing, and hopefully all the lights are still on by then. All right. Good night, everybody. And you know me. Give me a second. I always got to find where the button is. Button. Who's got the button? I don't know. Good night, everybody.